What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to another Resplendent review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Claude and going to be going over the builds that you could run on him in the modern times, and at the end I'll share my theory craft on how I would improve his weapon refine. So Claude is a book 3 ranged cavalry unit and he's a colorless bow cavalier with cunning bow as his preferred weapon. This did get a refine 2 years back in 2023, and this does provide him with +3 speed. He doesn't have -1 special cooldown, and if any kind of bonus is active on him or penalty is active on the foe, then he gets -5 attack, speed, defense, and resistance debuff on the foe in the combat. And in the player phase, he's able to get the pierceable damage reduction based on his own buffs, plus the foe's debuffs ×3, so max this could be 60% on foe's first attack. And he only gets the half null follow-up, the offensive half, if the buffs of his and the foe's debuffs is 10 or more. This is not that hard to achieve, but still the fact that it only gives him half null follow-up is something that happened with the older refines. And for his refinery part, for the foes in 3 rows and 3 columns, he's going to be inflicting them with -7 debuff, and he gives himself the +6 attack buff. So nowadays, even Grail units debuff the enemies for more stats and for an additional status effect. So this weapon refine definitely shows its age at this point, and he only gets +6 attack buff, not even the speed buff, even though he is a speedy cavalier. And based on his HP, he's also able to get +5 attack and speed in the combat, and he also has attack bonus doubler and defense foe penalty doubler. So he already gives himself all of those things. So triggering that is not that hard, but again, this is only for the specific stats, so it's limited in scope, and if this was full, even then he wouldn't really be all that insane. So right now this weapon is still decent compared to the other bows that we have got, but I can definitely see this getting replaced if we get a really good third arcane bow maybe in this year. But right now you probably want to still keep this weapon for its debuffs and for the stats it gives you, and also the half null follow-up is not really all that bad, as ranged cavaliers do not have the easiest access to it. And now we have got the resplendent versions for Dimitri and Claude, and only Edelgard remains. So she should be getting a resplendent probably in a couple of months, I hope. And Claude is able to get a lot more stats compared to these two, but unfortunately he doesn't really have the true damage, even the little bit of true damage that they have got. So right now, because we have got so much flat damage reduction, a little bit of true damage would have helped him tremendously. And overall, he is going to be a unit that is going to be taking a lot of dragon flowers. We don't really get a lot of ranged cavaliers in the free-to-play pool, especially bows. And if we're talking about the colorless bow cavaliers, then he's able to be as top tier as Leone Speed now, and he has got the same offensive stat spread. But of course, Tegumi being so new is going to be having much superior offensive stat spread, and Claude is also a premium unit, so he's going to be hard to merge and eating a lot of dragon flowers. And this is obviously expected, but still a lot of the cavaliers of the newer gen are going to be able to match him offensively, or even just have much better weapons, even if they are just at +1 merge. And Nidavellir is a very scary ranged cavalier that we have got. He is a bow unit, and even though Fogado is a green bow cavalier, still his effect is so unique for disabling the enemy special. So now he has got a lot more things to do with the Lin Ring. Still, even he can struggle to double some of the safe tanks and kill them even with all of his effects. So for Claude, it is going to be a lot harder when he doesn't have any kind of true damage or even a -1 special cooldown weapon. If you're going to be giving Claude some upgrade from the Divine Codes, then you could definitely give him Panic Smoke 4, which is available right now in the limited ephemera manuals with Kade and Ursula. So that's a really good skill for him because he already debuffs the enemy, and he has got the in-combat foe penalty doubler, but only for the defense stat of the enemy. So you could try and get the actual status effect and also debuff the enemy and panic them. And loud speed defense is fine on a budget, and you can just have attack speed catch 4, and Deadeye is going to be his special so that he can have some piercing. He does have the half null follow up, so at least he can try and double and Emblem Martyring is going to be needed so that he can have it as a 2 cooldown special. And then you absolutely want to run anything that can give you the extra offenses like the Cat Skill or the Blade Session, and you want to run units that can provide you with more damage output, either with the debuffs or with the status effects like Treachery, for example. So Catherine could be useful to him. And you could also try and use free-to-play units like Winter Ectinier, who can give him the bonus doubler status. And if you're going to be giving him some more expensive fodder, then you could at least provide him with the fodder of Fogado. So you can get Flared Sparrow and Speed Defense Fortrace. And like I said, he needs some true damage, so at least Fortrace 4 is going to be giving him that. And he also gets the Canto, which he is lacking with the first build. And you can also just run Flared Sparrow as a decent skill. Its pre-combat damage isn't really all that insane anymore, but if you cannot have access to his best Lottie skill, then this is going to be something that you could try and run and set up the Flame Terrain. Inside attack speed could be run so that you could get the Insided status and also get the in-combat stats in the player phase. His weapon is definitely quite player phase focused, and a lot of the range cavaliers are player phase focused. So this can be run, but it does overlap a bit with the buffs of his weapon. And you could try and run the other inside speed defense, but inside attack speed might be present in your barracks because of Quasir. So you could give him that fodder, and you could even run Lin Ring and use him with that and provide him with Preempt Pulse or Time Pulse 4 of Halloween Asker, and that can definitely help him. And if you're going to be investing in him all the way, then you just need a Brave Bernie and also Midir, and then you could try and have Attune Micaiah and her Fortrace Echo, which is going to be the best attune skill for a range cavalier like him. So you could try and run Slash the Sparrow, which can give you the true damage on every single hit, and you can run Assassin Strike for some true damage stacking. Unfortunately, cavaliers are not able to get speed takers, so that's a bit unfortunate, but his brave version is able to get that. So he is just going to be running Assassin Strike for the true damage. Hopefully we can get something better in the future, and Curve Shot can be helpful so that you can try and survive with the 60% damage reduction that he has got in his weapon. So it could be used with Lin Ring, and honestly I kind of prefer Curve Shot nowadays a bit more because there's so much flat damage reduction that you cannot really pierce anyways with Deadeye, so might as well run Curve Shot and get some unpierceable damage reduction. And inside speed defense is going to be a bit better for him because he can then buff up his own speed and defense, and he already buffs up his attack with his weapon, so that way he can have more buffs. But unfortunately he only has bonus doubler on his attack, and Blade Session is going to be giving you the max offenses so that he can do more damage. And this kind of build can still work with a third Arcane Bow if it is kind of similar to Arcane Sly Knife. So it's probably going to be aging just fine, and you do get the Insided status for the Slash the Sparrow condition, and you could just support him with other allies, and it's not really hard nowadays as we have many units that give out these status effects like Candy. And with Lin Ring, you definitely want to run any kind of dual strike or triangle attack unit so that you can quad attack. And because he has got the half null follow-up, that can be helpful. And you could even give him the fodder of Ninja Lucina, and that way he's able to get loud speed defense, but in the form of a detect skill, and he can even give that to the other allies and also inflict the exposure status. So it's an amazing slot B skill. And Shadow Shift could also be run so that you could have the positioning for your allies, and you also get the extra stats in the combat. So if you have an extra Ninja Lucina, this is something you can also try and do. And Slash the Sparrow is by far going to be his best slotty skill so that he can get some true damage. And you could just try and use him with any kind of extraction unit, or even smite him or reposition him so that he can trigger his detect skill. And you can also try and use a snack skill if you don't have access to the detect skill. Snack skill can also inflict the enemy with some debuffs and also the sabotage status, which he also appreciates. So any of those skills that can stack up the debuffs can work out with his preferred weapon. His weapon refine is not all that old in the grand scheme of things, so there's not a lot of change that he requires. He just needs to not be as limited with his effect. So I've tried to do that with this Theorycraft. So I would still keep the +3 speed and his trigger condition is going to be same, but now he's going to be able to debuff and also get the 7 flat damage reduction on foes first attacks. So now he has got the flat damage reduction a bit, as we see on so many of the ranged cavaliers nowadays. And I'll just give him the full null follow-up without any kind of mumbo jumbo. So you don't really need as many complex conditions to give something like null follow-up nowadays. And for his refine, for the foes in 3 rows and 3 columns, he's now going to be inflicting -7 speed and defense debuff, which is something that we see as a standard now. They debuff 2 stats, even the Grail units, and he also debuffs the enemy with the Discord status. This is also something we see that a lot on these refines, and he grants himself the +6 attack and speed buff and the Null Panic, which can go really well with his playstyle. And then he's going to be having the HP threshold, he's going to be getting the +5 to all of his stats, and now he has got the full bonus doubler. I don't think it's that big of a deal because honestly he's a ranged cavalier, he cannot really tank things, so having the full bonus doubler is not that big of a deal. And he also has the full foe penalty doubler, and we have gotten free-to-play units like Winter Ectonier and Fallen Lloyd who have these effects. So giving this to a 5-star unit like him is not really all that bad, considering that he is a ranged cavalier and his options are inherently restricted. And as I was talking before, I would definitely give him the true damage based on 20% of his speed. This is also something that we see as a standard because they are pretty much using the true damage to combat a lot of the flat damage reduction that we have got, and not having it in your weapon can be a detriment. So not a lot of changes, it's just that I've tried to modernize this weapon a bit with the refines that we have got nowadays. I want to thank all of my team members for their constant support, and you can click the link on the screen right now to check out my breakdown of the refines of this month, and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the amount of true damage that he has got in his weapon. So with that, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.